Hello, friends and artists. Mrs. Gordon here. I'm so happy to see you. Today is our second week in March, and we are continuing our study of Impressionist art. And then next week, we'll start post-Impressionist art. So Impressionist art, as you learned last week, if you saw last week's lesson, went from 1867 to 1886. And post-Impressionist art has that word post in it, and it's the period right after Impressionist art. So what is Impressionist art? The thing is, Impressionist artists were not trying to paint a reflection of real life, but an impression of what the person, the light, the object, or the landscape looked like to them, or even felt like to them. They wanted to give their impression of the art, not just make it like something that could be taken with a photograph. They tried to capture the movement and life of what they saw, and to show it to us as if it were happening before our very eyes. And so what that ends up looking like, friends, is it ends up looking like a lot of colors that might not seem realistic to you. And it looks kind of messy, and they like to paint in plein air, which means in the full air, which means outside in nature. And they wanted to give you a feeling of what it felt like to be there. So last week, we took a look at the art of Mr. Claude Monet. A couple of, if you're interested in learning more about Claude Monet, you can go back to last week's lessons, or you could look up a couple of books. This is a great book. This is called Linné in Monet's Garden. But he was famous for the watercolor pictures and drawing and painting watercolors. And first and second graders made water lilies. And first and second graders made water lily drawings last week. They used those cool colors, blues and greens and purples. They made messy drawings of water lilies. Third, fourth, and fifth graders made messy drawings of a cityscape with the impression or the feeling of the cityscape. Mary Cassatt is a Pennsylvania artist. She was one of the very few artists that were not French, who were part of the Impressionist movement. And Mary Cassatt was very famous for painting pictures of people doing things in their lives. She wanted to get the feeling of being there with them. And she was mostly famous for painting mothers and children. And before now, like mothers and children had all been painted very properly, but Mary Cassatt had them in real life doing their real things. Lounging on a chair with her dog, right? Going for a ride. You would go for a ride in the car. They're going for a ride in the buggy. Feeding the ducks, having tea. Okay. So when it comes to being inspired for Mary Cassatt, I'm going to give a couple of different options. I've got an option that's mostly for first and second grade, but if you're interested in another grade, you can do it too. And it involves the fabulous hats that Mary Cassatt included often. And I think it's because hats were really the fashion of the day. But, you know, when you look at some of her works, you see these amazing hats, and you'll see the brushstrokes of them. So again, today we get to do messy coloring. Okay, see how the painting brushstrokes are kind of smudged between his head and his hat, right? So today we're going to be creating either a portrait inspired by Mary Cassatt, or we're going with a hat, with a fabulous hat, or we're going to be making some teacups. So stay tuned for both. They're both going to be on here. Teacups is primarily for third, fourth, and fifth graders. But listen, first and second graders, if you're jazzed by teacups, you can do that. And third, fourth, and fifth graders, if teacups aren't your thing, you can do a Mary Cassatt inspired hat too. Okay, so let's get started. You're going to need a piece of paper. You're going to need a pencil. You're going to need some crayons to add color to it. You're going to need a marker or a black crayon or a black pencil, something that you can add black to. So if you were interested in last week's lessons of water lilies or the cityscape, you can go back and check out last week's lessons for those. But again, today we're going to do this kind of messy coloring. So we don't have to do neat coloring. Now, some of you that might be disturbing to you right now, but don't worry, it's going to be okay. We are going to make, and I love this lesson. I just love it. I'm so excited for it. We're going to do a mashup of like what would happen if a Mary Cassatt hat were to fall on a cartoon person's head, or if a Mary Cassatt stack of teacups were to be put onto a table. Okay. So let's start with the hat. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to start by making a U in the middle of our paper. Okay, that's going to be for the bottom of our person's head. Now remember, you can fast forward through Mrs. Gordon. You can pause the video. You can put me on slow. You can put me on fast, whatever works for you. After we draw the U, we're just going to draw some curved lines down to the edge of the paper. That's kind of for the neck and the shoulders. Then, friends, we're going to come back to the rest of the face later because we're going to add the hat on the head. Now, you can draw any kind of hat that you want. I drew like a fancy hat on this one. I think I'm going to draw a kind of a different shape of a fancy hat. So I think I'll draw kind of the top of the hat first. And then I'll draw the brim of the hat. Okay. And then I can go ahead and I can add some eyes. I can add a little L-shaped nose. And I love that this person is surprised because, oh my gosh, I'm in a cartoon and Mary Cassatt's hat has fallen onto my head. So then I'm just going to draw some hair, and I'm going to make it different from the last hair that I drew. So I did some curly hair on this one. Now, everything that's not the hat, you're going to go ahead and marker those details in. Or use a black crayon, or use a black colored pencil. And I'm just going to add a little highlight in the eye here. And then I'm going to color the eyes in. And I'm going to put the nose in there. Maybe I'll add a little curve there. And I've got her surprised mouth. Oh my goodness. Somebody dropped Mary Cassatt's hat on my head. And right now she looks like she's sunbathing at the beach. So I'm going to add a little shirt on her. And maybe I'll add some stripes on that shirt. Then, friends, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to color in the hat. Now, again, we're going to do messy coloring, but I just don't want it to be a plain hat. You can have it be a plain hat if you want to. But like on this hat, I added in a flower, I added a bird, I added something to be surprised of, which was a big piece of fruit, and a worm coming out of the fruit, and some more flowers over here. So I'm trying to think what I could add that might be interesting. Maybe I just want some really great flowers. So maybe I want all sorts of different flowers. Maybe I'll add a baseball on top of it. Why not? Or maybe I'll make it a lemon. A little bumpy out part of the lemon. And then maybe a lime. She's got citrus on her head. Okay, now the key part to the next part is that when you color in the hat, you're going to color it super messy. So I've picked out, and you're also, well, the other thing that was fabulous about the Impressionists is they did so many blending of colors. So they wouldn't just color the hat in one color, and you can see that here on my hat. But they would color the hat in all sorts of colors, and it's not clean, neat coloring, it's messy coloring. So you're going outside the lines today. Yep, I said it. It's outside the lines coloring because they were into those quick, messy brush strokes. And I'm not doing perfect coloring. I'm just kind of getting, I could even use the side of my crayon, all right, to get in some good color in there. And it's okay if I go outside the lines. I keep saying that, and I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. So I'm adding all different kinds of like, oh, I don't want to put too much yellow because that is the color of the fruit that it's next to. So maybe I'll add some more brown up there. So I'm just going to go in and do some really messy coloring in the style of the Impressionist to get the feel of a Mary Cassatt hat. And doing some brown in here because I want that yellow to stand out. Now when I make that yellow, so there's my messily colored hat. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color in my yellow lemon. But the Impressionists didn't use just one color. They used more than one color. So maybe I'll add in some green in with that lemon too. A little green tinge on that lemon. And maybe I'll have a green lime over here. Can you believe how messy you get to be with your coloring today? It's so awesome. And blending your colors. All right. So it really does start to look like a painting, right? It really does. And I keep having to remind myself that I don't have to be neat, but I don't want just a red flower because like the Impressionists, they tried to put all sorts of different colors in there to give the feeling of it. And they were loose brush strokes and all sorts of amazingness. Maybe I'll put some purple in that flower. Blending some colors, going over my colors. All right, so this woman is walking around and all of a sudden, an amazing Mary Cassatt inspired hat has fallen on her head. And she is just fit to be tied. She does not know what to do about this hat that has fallen on her head. I just love it. All right, so there is a Mary Cassatt inspired hat. You can add more colors to the hat. We are going to do the same. You can add oh, I forgot to do part of her hair. You can add a background to it if you want. Before, I did a colored in background, but I was thinking that on this one, I might just put like, I might add to the feeling of it and just add a black and white background with my, either my thick black crayon or my black marker or my black colored pencil. Look, Mary Cassatt's hat has fallen on her head. This one I did color in the background, so it's up to you. All right, so teacups. If you're interested in teacups, let's draw the teacups. I'm going to start my teacups at the bottom of the page, and I'm going to start my teacups with a saucer. So toward the bottom of my page, I'm going to make a little curve like a smile line. And then I'm going to make another curve like a smile line on top of it. So there is my saucer. Then curved vertical line, and curve like a smile line. And there I have my cup, but I'm missing the handle. So I'm going to add a handle. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make another cup, and this one I want it to be a different kind of cup, so I'm changing what I want it to look like. And maybe I'll add a fancy cup here. And maybe one more cup up here at the top. Because Mary Cassatt, in addition for being known for her really awesome hats, she was also known for, tea came up as a subject in her art a lot. On the cup on the very top, in addition to curve like a smile line, I'm going to add a curve like a rainbow line because we would be able to see the top of the cup. Then I'm going to add a horizon line behind it somewhere. Horizontal line from the edge of the page to a cup, horizontal line from the other side of the cup to the other edge of the page. That gives us our table. So now we're sitting on our table. Now remember, when you're drawing, you want this to be a cartoon background, black and white background, that your Mary Cassatt messy colored cups have just like plopped themselves down into the middle of. So I added like a checkerboard tablecloth. You could do that. I might just add some like diagonal lines going across for some wallpaper. And maybe I'll do like a polka dot tablecloth on this one. But just bold black and white. And then those messy colors all over the place. Messy colored cups are just going to fall right in the middle of it. And maybe I'll leave my paper blank on this one. I won't add in something there. All right, so then the fun part comes. Then the messy coloring comes. So you can make all different kinds of, cup designs on there. But the key is, like maybe you want a heart on this one. All right, the key is that when you're coloring in those cups, you're using different colors and coloring different colors for those cups, and you're not trying to be super neat. You're going outside of the lines if you need to. Maybe this is like a yellow cup, but it's got some reddish on the edge. Reddishness on the edge. I mostly picked the red color because I just wanted the pencil lines to be not to be seen too much. And then I'm just going to color over it. And that makes it messy too, which is even more awesome. Messy coloring. You can do it. It's okay. It's okay to get messy with your colors. It's okay to blend your colors. And look, I look like I have a painted mug there. You can make all different, patterns on your cups. Maybe I want there to be circles, polka dots.
33 is here, bus 33.
Maybe I want this just to be plain. But I'm not even going to worry about sticking inside the line so much. I think I'm going to color these in, and maybe I want them to be like a pink color. And I'm not even that worried about staying inside the lines, right, friends? Because
27 is here, bus 33 and bus 27.
Dismissal time at Pennell Elementary. That's what you're getting today, friends. And then I'm going to use the side to color it in quickly, and I'm not even worried about staying inside the lines. I'm just going for it. Might add some more. Kind of blend those lines in by doing some messy coloring. Add some more on here. You're going to keep doing this the same way, making lots of different color style cups, being messy with your coloring, trying to feel like impressionist, like brush strokes all over the place, really just kind of getting excited about blending your colors, trying to feel the excitement of life and living, and how life doesn't always have to be perfect and neat. Life can be messy and beautiful and blended and colorful and like the Impressionists. So, friends and artists, whether you make a hat today, a Mary Cassatt inspired hat that's fallen on the head of a cartoon person for a cartoon Mary Cassatt mashup, or whether you make teacups inspired by Mary Cassatt because she was always painting tea. I hope you have a wonderful time with your messy coloring. Blend colors, get messy, drop those impressionist hats and colored cups right into some cartoon black and white scene, and happy art making, friends. I can't wait to see what you do.